What is up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're back at it again with another book review, this time of Ciara Smyth's The Falling in Love Montage. So, disclaimer, when I talked about this in my Barnes & Noble haul, linked here, I said her name was Saoirse, and I had thanked Saoirse Ronan for telling me how to pronounce her name. Meanwhile, like 2 pages in, she goes, her name is Saoirse. So, Saoirse, not Saoirse. And it's actually a fun little, almost like running gag throughout it of how Saoirse Ronan is an Irish national treasure, but also ruining it for all the other Saoirses of the world. So, apologies, it is Saoirse. So, quick recap. Saoirse doesn't believe in falling in love. She's had past relationships not really work out. She's just kind of over it. And she meets this girl, Ruby, and they decide, we're gonna have a falling in love montage. We're gonna do all the things that all of the, all the movies do, and it's gonna be great, and no one's gonna fall in love, and it's gonna be fantastic. And that's what I thought I was getting into. I thought I was getting into a really hopeless, romantic romp around Ireland, where they do end up together in the end. I will not say how it ends. Hopefully. We'll find out. Anyway, it's not exactly what it is. I literally just finished this. I should have taken a second to let it all marinate, but I liked it. It wasn't what I was expecting. I don't think I will read it again right away. There are some books that I read that I really want to read again immediately or in a couple of months. I feel like this is one that needs to sit with me for a little bit because it's so honest and real in a lot of ways that I wasn't expecting. I mean, the title is The Falling in Love Montage. I thought this was going to be like all of the other cliched, hopeless romantic books, not smut. I don't know what word I used. I was telling somebody about it. I was like, it's just like, oh, trashy. I was like, trashy romance books. It's not a trashy romance book. So Saoirse, they're in Ireland, which is really cool. I probably should have figured that out from the names. But Saoirse it starts with her finishing up her exams, and you find out that she lives with her dad in this nice little seaside town in Ireland. Her mom has early onset dementia, meaning she's in her early 50s and already in a home because her and her dad can't take care of her in the way that she needs. So she's actually in, as is described, a very nice home for elderly people, which is a reality for a lot of people. It kind of hit a little bit close to home. I know things like Alzheimer's and dementia run at some part of my family, so it's a little bit scary, and it's very early onset, and that's kind of the start for Saoirse's whole motivation. She had just been broken up with by her 2 best friends. They were all a friend group, and then Saoirse and one of the friends Saoirse and Hannah got together, and Izzy was the 3rd wheel, but they were all still friends. And then, of course, as things happen, Hannah breaks up with Saoirse, and Saoirse feels betrayed by Izzy because she feels like Izzy took Hannah's side. So for her whole senior year, or the final year of I don't know if they call it high school in Ireland, but the final year of school, Saoirse's kind of this loner. And it's really interesting to see, she has this rule where she'll only kiss straight women. And I kind of liked that because it had this sense of reality to it, and this sense of, you always, I feel, have guys, thank you, Pride Flag, you always have guys in these hopeless romantic rom-com type of books, and it's the guys always talking with girls and picking up girls and one-night stands, and there's a string of broken hearts behind him. And it's kind of similar in this way, where Saoirse will, when she's at parties, if a girl wants to experiment and kiss a girl to either see what it's like or to piss off the boyfriend, make him jealous, whatever. She'll do that, and she likes that. She gets some sort of weird kind of thrill from doing that, and I liked that. I liked that it was sort of this unlikable piece of a character who was so three-dimensional. So that's where she goes. She goes to Oliver Quinn's party, who, it's very Gatsby-esque. Oliver throws all of these. He's the rich kid of the neighborhood. He has a Jeep, which is really a big deal in Ireland. I think a lot of us in America don't realize that in England, while people get driver's license, a lot of people don't own cars. Like, a lot of young people don't own cars. So that was a really kind of interesting cultural thing to see. But he's got a car, he's got this mansion, and anytime he throws these parties, Saoirse always says he's found in his music room, he's like playing the piano while everyone's downstairs trashing his house. I was like, how Gatsby-esque of everything. I like that. But Saoirse meets Ruby, which is Oliver's cousin. She is from England, so, you know, it's weird because it's another country, but it's not like super far away, but in the same time, it's super far away. So she's in Ireland, staying with Oliver and his family, and they have this moment, and Saoirse's like, oh, she's not straight, cool, and she's kind of smitten for her right away. She talks about all of these things that happen when you fall in love with somebody, you know, the heart racing and everything, and she goes, no, this isn't gonna happen. And Ruby invites her to her birthday dinner, I think the following week, and Saoirse's dealing with all of this family stuff at home. Her dad is dating somebody, and she doesn't want this to happen. It feels very teenager in the sense that she's exaggerating, but at the same time, it's a lot of very valid exaggerations. It's not just that her dad is, it's not like her dad's selling off the house, or it's not like she doesn't want to go to university because she wants to take a gap year and go frolic around Europe or something. She has these really grounded pieces of, my mom is in a home and is forgetting me. She does not know who she is anytime she visits, and she wants to be closer to her mom. She wants to visit her mom every day. She has resentment for her dad for putting her mom in a home, and resentment for her dad for moving on, when, you know, this is the woman who is the love, you know, supposedly the love of his life. They married, they had a kid. She has a lot of mixed feelings about getting older because the early onset dementia, like, she could forget everybody by the age of 40, and that's a real fear for her. And she has all of these sort of mixed emotions about it, very angry, and she doesn't want to tell Ruby this. Ruby and her decide to do this falling in love montage. Thank you, Pride Flag, for just completely falling over. Thank you, set dressing. Anyway, they have this plan to do this falling in love montage because Ruby loves rom-coms and everything, so they go about all of these things, and it's funny, they talk about the big fight and the making up, and Saoirse's like, we're not going to do that because I'm not going to tell her anything about my life. And of course, in the whole, I'm not going to tell her anything about what's going on with me, comes the eventual undoing of everything. The whole, you can't hide who you are forever, even if you think it's going to ruin everything. So it's a really great read about growing up and the inevitability of change. It's really great. Oliver throws another party when their exams come in, and he talks about how no one's gonna talk to each other by the time Halloween comes around. And Saoirse asks him, are you gonna throw another party before we all go our separate ways to university? And he goes, probably not. And he talks about like not really having friends and just being, he is like Gatsby. People come and use his house and drink his booze, or his parents' booze, I should say, and make use of everything. And at the end, you know, they don't really know him. And in the same time with Saoirse, it's a lot of, I'm so scared about what my future is going to hold or not hold. Why should I want to tell anyone? Why should I fall in love? Why should I do all of these things? And I think she has a little bit of resentment for her parents. There's a great scene with her and her dad talking about when her mom actually found out she had like early onset dementia, and the fact that it is hereditary, and passing it on, and the decision to have a kid. And it gets heavy. And that's what I wasn't expecting. It took me a little while to read this because it was getting very heavy in a lot of senses, both in Saoirse's life and in Ruby's life, which I won't spoil anything about Ruby's life. That's a nice little, I think, reveal. But yeah, it's not the feel-good movie that you expect it to be. The falling in love montage comes with all of these. I just talked to my friend, we were talking about expectations, and expectations are kind of the root of disappointment, and you put these expectations on anything really, but people especially, because most of the time nobody lives up to them. And that's what I did with this. I had expectations going into this, and it was not a complete 180, but it was something so much more than what I expected. It wasn't just some schlocky piece of summer feel-good, love story stuff. This was real, and I liked that. I think a lot of times, like the kissing, I've never seen any of these things, but like the kissing booth, or like The Summer I Turned Pretty, they all have these wonderful trailers and these expectations of them, and I think my friend did tell me, I said, I don't really want to see The Summer I Turned Pretty. I said, it looks like it's going to be X, Y, and Z. And she goes, oh, it is. She goes, but of course I'm bawling at the end of it. I said, of course you're bawling at the end of it, because that's what is expected. And this is different. This has so many serious beats, and they felt like real people. Ruby felt real. Saoirse felt real. Oliver felt real. Everyone feels real. And it has a lot of really adult and mature ideas of talking your feelings out instead of holding them in, and forgiveness, and taking a relationship that ended in one aspect and moving on with it in a different aspect. Not just the ending of a relationship, but the evolution of a relationship, and how you can go from being one thing and then something happens and then going on with another in a new and or better dynamic, which I really related to with some stuff that's going on with me personally, and I liked that. I enjoyed that. This is not the read if you're looking for a 13 going on 30, or I'm trying to think of, I think Never Been Kissed, that's a Drew Barrymore film. They mentioned like Drew Barrymore in here. This isn't for people who are going and expecting the rom-com formula, because it's not that. This is a coming-of-age tale, and a coming into one's own, as much as it is a falling in love montage. Though it did give me some really good ideas for potential dates. I also just enjoyed, it is a lesbian love story. I think that that's why it worked really well for me, because you had this female character who was sort of in the role of what is usually the male character. They're a little bit emotionally inept, they're a little bit hesitant, they are dealing with a lot of things that nobody else can see, and they don't want anyone else to see, because it'll warp the reality and the expectations. So I liked that. I thought it was a really nice turning of a trope on its head. Yeah. Ciara Smyth has another book, Not My Problem. Sounds like a personal problem. Lucky for you, that's her specialty. Would definitely pick it up. I enjoyed the way she wrote. I enjoyed, there's like text conversations in here, which I thought was hysterical. Usually between Oliver and Saoirse, and Oliver's changed his name into something funny in her phone, and that's gonna beep forever, dang it. We're just gonna let it happen. So yeah, the Falling in Love montage, I definitely recommend it. Again, it might take you a little bit, because it gets heavy at some points, and you feel for Saoirse, and you feel for Ruby, and what else could go wrong today? So, yeah, the Falling in Love montage. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I would definitely read more from Ciara Smyth. She's an excellent writer. She has this way of also being very funny in these very dry senses, which I enjoyed. Saoirse is this really kind of sarcastic, dry, humored person throughout a lot of kind of internal monologue type stuff, and I thought that was hysterical. I found myself laughing out loud a lot of times, and yeah, she really knows how to paint very realistic characters and very realistic settings, but making it feel very magical, like a falling in love montage. You believe that this happens, which I think is the hardest part about any rom-com, is the believability. Like, I love 50 First Dates, but I'm like, what are the odds, you know? So, yeah. The Falling in Love montage. Definitely would recommend. Pick it up. Read it. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.